Welcome to the UNIPOWER Personal Protective Equipment presentation. In this presentation, we will be speaking in reference to the general requirements of OSHA for personal protective equipment. We'll be talking about the hazard assessments that need to be conducted to ensure the safe workplace for all employees, and the training that's required for the use of personal protective equipment. Finally, we will speak in reference to the eye and face protection, hearing protection, foot protection, and hand protection that needs to be provided by UNIPOWER. Protective equipment has been used throughout the years as tools that are needed to perform their job. Nearly 2 million employees will be disabled in work-related injuries this year. More than a quarter of those accidents will involve the head, eyes, hands, or feet. Only 1% of approximately 770 workers suffering from face injuries were wearing face protection. Only 23% of workers with foot injuries wore safety boots or safety shoes. And about 40% of workers with eye injuries wore eye protection. Regulation 1910.132 of the General Requirements from OSHA state that protective equipment includes personal protective equipment for eyes, for the face, for head and extremities, and protective equipment and respiratory devices, protective barriers, and shields. This equipment shall be provided, used, and maintained in sanitary and reliable condition wherever it's necessary by reasons of hazards of process or environment. Hazards of process or environments include chemical hazards, electrical hazards, or mechanical irritants. These hazards are encountered in a manner capable of causing injury or impairment in the function of any part of the body through absorption, inhalation, or physical contact. Section 1910.132D talks about hazard assessments. The steps of hazard assessments include: first, to stop and think about the processes in our work environment. Number two, we look around and find any identifiable hazards. We follow that by assessing the risk of such hazards, and we work on number four, which is to control the risks. After all these steps are done, we resume our work in our new and improved hazard-free environment. Hazard assessments assess the workplace to determine if hazards are likely to necessitate the use of personal protective equipment. If hazards are present, the employee shall select and have each affected employee use appropriate personal protective equipment for the identified hazards. He will communicate the selection decisions to all affected employees and will select personal protective equipment that fits each employee. Written certification of hazard assessments identifies the workplace being evaluated, the person certifying that the evaluation has been performed, the dates of the hazard assessment, and the identification of documents as a certification of the hazard assessment. The employer must train employees before issuing personal protective equipment in at least these things. When is the protective equipment necessary? What equipment is necessary? How to properly put on and put off, adjust and wear the PPE. The limitations of the personal protective equipment, proper care, maintenance, and useful life and disposal of such PPE. Workers must demonstrate an understanding of the training and the ability to use personal protective equipment properly before being allowed to perform work requiring the use of personal protective equipment. Written certification to verify that each employee has received and understood the required training contains the name of the employee being trained, the date of the training, and finally the subject of the certification. Retraining might be necessary for employees who have not acquired the understanding and skill of using the PPE. Reasons for this would be the changes in the workplace, changes in the way the PPE is being used, or inadequate knowledge and use of the PPE. Eye and face protection. UNIPOWER has several procedures in which there is a danger of eye injury to our employees. These two pictures show the types of injuries that can occur to an employee not wearing eye protection. The first one is the penetration of a metal part into the eye. The second picture is a picture of a chemical burn of employees not wearing eye protection. Section 1910.133 talks about eye and face protection for employees in the workplace. The employer assures that employee uses eye or face protections from hazards such as flying particles, molten metal, liquid chemicals, acids or caustic liquids, chemical gases or vapors, or potential injurious light radiation. Sight protection for flying objects is illustrated in the glasses as shown below. Employees with prescription lenses should incorporate prescriptions into their eye protection, or they should wear eye protection over their prescription lenses without disturbing the proper position of the prescription lenses or the protective lenses. Below you will find protective eye and face devices that comply with ANSI Z 87.1-1989. Respiratory protection. Section 1910.134A talks about permissible practices for respiratory protection. The primary objective of this section is to prevent atmospheric contamination. Respiratory hazards include dust, mist, fogs, fumes, sprays, smokes, or vapors. The first priority is the engineering controls that should help reduce any type of contamination in enclosed or confinements of the operation. It should include general and local ventilation, and there should be substitutions for less toxic materials to be used in the operation. Only where engineering controls are not feasible should respirators be used. The exception to this is the voluntary use of dust masks. Section 1910.134D speaks about the selection of respirators. Respirators should be NIOSH certified. The company should provide enough variety so the user can find the right fit. Cartridges should be changed on a schedule as used for gases or vapors. IDLH atmosphere, immediately dangerous to life and health atmosphere, must be specified on the air respirators necessary for use in these conditions. Foot protection. Foot protection is very important in an electrical environment. As you can see from the pictures below, these are some of the injuries that can occur in an electrical environment when the proper footwear is not worn. Section 1910.136 of the General Requirements states that each affected employee must use protective footwear where there is a danger of falling or rolling objects, of objects piercing the sole of a shoe, or from feet being exposed to electrical hazards. Protective footwear shall comply with the NZ 41-191 code. The below photos are of footwear that is not acceptable and does not comply with NZ 41-191. Only the fourth picture shows footwear that is acceptable for UNIPOWER's work environment. Hand protection. Hand protection is very important to our operation. Most of our employees work with their hands, building or testing equipment. Below you will see pictures of folks that did not have proper electrical hand protection and the type of injuries that they had. One particular injury is the ring finger. As you will see in the last two pictures, these are pictures of burns that occurred while folks had their wedding rings on during testing. Section 1910.138 states that appropriate hand protection is required for employees' hand exposure to hazards such as skin absorption of harmful substances, severe cuts or lacerations, severe abrasions, punctures, chemical burns, thermal burns, and harmful temperature extremes. Employers select protection based on performance characteristics of the hand protection relative to the task to be performed, conditions that are present in the workplace, duration of the use of the equipment, hazards and potential hazards identified. Common types of gloves include disposable, which are made of lightweight plastic and can help guard against mild irritants. Fabrics. Fabric gloves are made of cotton or fabric blend and help improve grip or insulate from heat or cold. Leather gloves to help guard against injuries from spark or scraping against rough surfaces, combined with an insulated liner when working with electricity. Chemical resistant gloves, which are made of nitrile, neoprene, vinyl, or other materials, and are used to protect hands from chemical exposure. Metal mesh, which are used to help protect hands from cuts and scratches and are used commonly with sharp instruments. And finally, aluminized fabric that is used to insulate hands from intense heat that commonly used when molten materials are in the work environment. Hearing protection. UNIPOWER recommends that hearing protection be used for any sound levels that exceed 85 decibels. There is a number of hearing protection devices that can be used to protect your hearing. Hearing protection must be made available to all employees exposed to any noise level higher than 85 decibels. Replacements must be available to all employees and be changed as necessity warrants. All employees exposed to noises higher than 90 decibels must wear hearing protection. Employees have a variety of devices to choose from. Training in the correct use of hearing protection and the supervision of such correct use must be made by the supervisor, and the hearing protection must fit properly. Accidents are defined as something I think won't happen to me, but it does. Typical excuses for not wearing PPE include, I was in a hurry. Accidents don't happen to me. I was only going to take a minute. These are all famous last words before the accident happens. Be alert. Don't let this happen to you. As you can see from this training, there's lots of personal protective equipment that is necessary for the safe operation of a corporation such as UNIPOWER. UNIPOWER is invested in the well-being of its employees and wants to maintain a safe environment for all.